Hey you guys, what's cracking? Godsman here, coming at you with another custom card review. We're into the double digits now. This is part 11. Yeah, if you can believe it, 11. Really deep into the thick of things. And I mean, despite it being 11 ways in, this was 20 days ago from Barian number 107. That's a Zale reference. Mizael, I think, was the name of the one who used a Tachyon Dragon, because that was number 107. That's cool. Hey, Hunter here. Oh, it's Cardfight Hunter. Yeah, this guy's he's a sub of mine who he's been commenting on some of the recent stuff. He actually does do some OST rips. Most particularly, he's been doing the Divine's OST rips as of late. So check him out. His name's Cardfight Hunter on the YouTube site, and if you want to see some of those rips in case there was any of those soundtracks from the latest season that just aired and you wanted to really listen to it, well, he's got the next best thing for you. Might as well throw out some stuff here, because why not? Yeah, indeed. Why not? Starting with something I really want to happen. Destined 1 in severity, Orifist Fatum. Orifist Destined 1. We've had Ezel Destined 1s, we've had Favrenil Destined 1s, so sure, why not? Let's have Orifist be a part of the party. Grade 3 Twin Drive Persona Ride. 1 critical, 13 base power. Brandgate Cyber Golem, alright, all the expected stats. Continuous to the Vanguard Circle. Each Shadow Army token on rear circle gets power plus 1k for each grade of the cards in your order zone. Ooh, I really like that. See, one of the main complaints that I've heard from people who play Orifist Mask is that the masked version actually gets rid of your cards from the order zone, right? And this is kind of annoying because that means you need to constantly replenish cards in the order zone, and in the case of Overcoming an Eternity, you will miss out on the 5k power buffs that come from having that thing in the order zone, because keep in mind that card will give 5k to all of your called Shadow Army tokens every single time they're called, and it stacks for every copy you have in the order zone. So it's a little sucky to try and get rid of that thing. This is incentivizing bulking up, so already off to a really good start there. Auto on the Vanguard Circle once per turn. When this unit attacks, if your world is Dark Knight or Abyssal Dark Knight, wow, I'm kind of surprised you didn't just go for Abyssal Dark Knight at this point, cost Counterblast 1 and send a World Order card for the drop zone. Okay, so kind of take back what I said, but let's read the rest of this effect first. Call any amount of Shadow Army tokens to rear circle up to the grade of the order sent for this card. Okay. Then, if your unit was retired this turn, the units called by this effect gain power plus 5k. You know what? Even though this does technically go back to what I mentioned before, by getting rid of a World Order, which I said wasn't the greatest thing ever, this is only getting rid of 1, and depending on the World Order you get out, you could get 2 to 3 Shadow Army tokens. That's a lot of mileage for getting rid of 1 World Order and counterblasting 1. You don't need to discard, you just need to get rid of an order. Now, I think the ideal scenario is to get rid of one of your grade 2 World Orders. That way you can get 2 Shadow Army tokens, and then using skills of Opar, and I forget what's the grade 3 that also calls a Shadow Army token, you'll be able to reestablish columns for a 5-turn multi-attack. And this is giving 5k. What I like about the 5k is twofold. First off, it's helping you compensate for having to get rid of Overcoming an Eternity. That's a grade 3 World Order. So if you want to get 3 Shadow Army tokens, you have to get rid of that crap. But, and this is the second part I like, by retiring something you control, in other words, calling over, you'll be able to get that plus 5k to beat back the loss of power there. What I dig about this is it does incorporate some Orifist Mask vibes, right? It does get the World Order part being sent to the drop, and it has the call over style that Orifist Mask does. But unlike Mask, you don't need to send a bunch of World Orders, and you don't need to call over every unit that you're going to call Shadow Army token to. This is more even keel. It's less expensive than Orifist Mask is, and I really like that, because that card, it forced you to go all in for your really big beatdown, and it is still a pretty big beatdown, admittedly, but I think by this day and age it's not quite as exceptional as it used to be, right? I touched on this a little bit more in my recent tier list for the standard format. So this being able to get only a little bit of your resources out in order to give you a few different Shadow Army tokens with some power, I think that's a good trade-off, especially because you can also give them plus 1k continuously with this continuous skill. That's really nice. I also dig that, and I did mention this before, this continuous skill only applies to Shadow Army tokens, meaning that if you have some left over from the previous turn, you get benefited by that. It's not going to give to your Vanguard, so your Vanguard's going to be the weak link in terms of offensive power, but that's fine. It's all about the tokens, baby. Now let's go on to the third skill. Divine Skill Act. Ooh, I shook the camera a little bit. Divine Skill Act Vanguard Circle. Oh, nice. This is another one that joins the club of 1 continuous, 1 auto, 1 act. So what's this one do? If your world is Abyssal Dark Knight, okay, so you have to get 2 or more, whereas this one is just 1 or more in the order zone. So clearly you're supposed to build up to it, but it's super easy to get world orders in there. Cost Soul Blast 1. Choose up to 3 world orders from your drop, set them, and for the rest of the turn, this unit gets continues to the Vanguard Circle. All Shadow Army tokens can do drive checks, and any over triggered they drive check has its power gain effects nullified. Ooh, Hunter kind of cooked with that. That's the first time I've ever seen that kind of a condition get played out, and I think it's really fitting here. So you can't OT sack, especially because we're talking about Eldo Breath. So Eldo Breath is already going to double the power of your field. So at least you don't get the 1 million, 2 million kind of bullcrap, right? You're just getting the double power up, which is already super insane, and the double on the critical. You get the additional effect from drive checking. You just don't get the million power gain. That's a good compromise. Getting the drive checks in general is super impactful too, right? Because here's the thing, and I dig that he made this a divine skill because this is definitely the most wicked skill. These drive checks go to your hand, and since it's an axe skill, this means that, and you're getting this continuous skill as the Vanguard, so that means any new tokens are going to get this skill as well, right? Your Shadow Army tokens that were already there from the previous turn, let's say you had 2 left over, right? That's 2 drive checks, and then you get rid of a world order and call 2 more. That's 2 more drive checks. That means that you're drive checking a total of 6 cards that turn. That's absolutely bonkers, dude. This is an insanely strong one, especially as well, you're getting world orders from the drop and setting them, and this can get you another Shadow Army token. This can get you a draw. This can get you more stacks of 5k power. It gets you a lot of mileage. I'm actually a little bit inclined to say that you might want this to chill out a bit, because it's pretty easy to achieve Abyssal Dark Knight, and your opponent might not establish enough to be able to survive the walloping you got going on here, because nothing here actually explicitly wants your opponent to be at grade 3 or greater. So the beatdown is hyper fast, and you could really just blow out your opponent before they even get a chance to respond, and we don't really like that in our Vanguard, right? I mean, I know like Masanori from the anime would like to do that, and ironically that's how you beat Orifist with it, but in the real life we probably want to stay away from that. So you might want to add some sort of time-based constraint to this, or have it be a situation where you limit the amount of drive checking you can do, because otherwise that's too much advantage and power all at once. Everything else about this though, this is an amazing effect. No complaints whatsoever. Even the part where it's not grade 3 or greater restricted. The only thing that really pushes it over the edge is this part of it, right? And this is also a really intriguing effect that I think perfectly fits Orifist, while also expanding on the world orders in a very meaningful direction, right? That's one thing I do like from customs, is when people take things that Bushy establishes as a base for a deck and then take it to the next level. That's a really cool idea. Overall, this is like a 9 out of 10, maybe 9.5 out of 10. Phenomenal card. Then a funny one, a Sea-Bound Fated Clash, exclamation, question mark. Mazanoir, wait, oh, is he referencing? Oh, you clever dog. I know what he's referencing. So in one of my recent videos, right, I did a Fated Clash tournament, right? Now, this was a series of battles that was determined by random chance, much like the Fated Clash in the anime, where we took Fated ones and they duked it out in single elimination combat. The first round of that tournament saw Maz using Nadir, which is the Fated one of Taboo, and Noir using the Fated one of Ever Chasing Chris Rain, and they fought against each other. And people did it seemed to like that match quite a lot, especially because it had an upset conclusion, which I'm not going to say here because I actually do want you guys to go check it out if you haven't already. Anyway, let's see what this does. Grade 3 normal order. Oh, okay, well, I can see the Zorga implications right there. Stoic Chaos / Lyrical Monasterio. Ah, so we're getting a dual nation with Lyrical Monasterio. You know, that hasn't really happened yet, so I'm happy that they're starting to really expand on that idea. Play this if your Vanguard is a Zorga or Crystalline unit with Divine Skill. Specifically, that's to stop you from using this with Red Blue Zorga. Or Mass, now that I think about it, because Mass can actually use 2 of the same order, and that's a very dangerous combination. Cost bind a normal order from your drop, or Counterblast 1 and Soul Blast 1. I see. So, pay the Zorga preferred cost, or pay the Chris Raid preferred cost. Gotcha. Energy Charge 3. Ooh. Choose a grade 1 or less normal unit from the drop and call it to rear circle. Yeah, that already encapsulates like what both decks do, right? You know, Chris Raid energy charges, Zorga revives from the dead, good stuff. If your Vanguard is Stoic Chaos, choose a normal order from drop or bind, add it to your hand, and for this turn, your Vanguard gets continuous of the Vanguard circle. You can play 2 normal orders this turn. If your Vanguard is Lyrical Monasterio, draw a card and your Vanguard gets 5k power until the end of the turn. Okay, here's what I'm gonna say about this. I think this already, right, is a pretty freaking strong effect. Being able to energy charge 3 and revive any grade 1 or less unit from the drop zone, you're effectively getting I mean, it's a break even technically, but it's a break even of your choice from the drop, so it's a recursion as well as getting good energy charge, so that's already a really strong effect. The Chris Rain add-on of then drawing a card and the Vanguard gets 5k until end of turn, you know what, I don't mind that. I think, yeah, it's technically a +1 now, and you get a minor power buff, but you are paying a Counterblast and a Soul Blast for it, right? Unless, of course, you buy another normal order, which means you would need to get another normal order in there, which I guess isn't the worst thing ever. It's a very powerful order when you do that, but I think the Lyrical Monasterio aspect of it is fine, especially because it's limited to only Chris Rain, and so you could play an order-based Chris Rain style, which could really legitimately work. The Zorga one is a little bit too crazy though. Being able to get back an order and then immediately allow you to play it is really wild when all you did as the cost was bind a normal order, which binding a normal order is helpful to Zorga. Zorga wants to do that in order to ramp up its power gains anyway, especially because what you can do with Zorga is you can use this effect. You don't need to Alchemagic it. You use its effect, add another normal order from the drop or bind to the hand, which could be the thing that you bound for cost, and then this guy is now in the drop zone, meaning that what you do then is you bind it with Nadir's Axe skill. It's now in the bind zone. And then the order you recurred back with this effect, you can play it in Alchemagic with this card that's bound, meaning you can double dip on it. So now you'll be able to get 2 revives, 6 energy, and it just goes from there. Like that's a really strong order, dude. Let's also keep in mind that this is all during the main phase, which means that with all the energy that you're gaining, you can not only pay for Nadir's Axe skill, but it'll be able to pay for Going no Kaima, aka Abomination Karma, which is an energy blast 4 cost. And you just skyrocket this. This would be one of the most insane turbo pieces in Zorga, period. So I would say chill out on the whole you can play 2 orders this turn a bit, right? I think recurring an order back is pretty clever, and I do like that. Just don't allow this, because then you can cycle it out and keep amassing more resources that you honestly shouldn't be able to get access to, especially because this isn't limiting you to like second turn or anything like that. The lyrical one, maybe it's kind of pushing it, but I think it's still fine, especially I like that you gave the Vanguard plus 5k because of Chris Rain's Divine Skill is being kept in mind. So overall, really solid card. I'd probably give it about like an 8.5 or 9 out of 10, just because I really like the themes and most of it is really sick, and you know, it's a really funny Easter egg. I'm kind of flattered that someone would actually make a custom card based on one of my videos. That's super cool, man. The only thing I would change, and it would give it a perfect score, is if you took out this little continuous add-on, and then you're golden, dude. Really cool 2 cards here, man. And there's not a lot of stuff that I put on the thumbnail. Hell, I might actually make like a custom card art for this or this right here, just to be silly. Probably not, but you know, the gears are turning in my head. All right, are we still recording? Yep, okay, we're still recording. Again, I always have to check that. Playful Skirt 8014. Okay, I'm not sure how to take that. Hello there. First time poster on this thread. As I mentioned in the most recent episode's comment section, in light of the new D-Series support given to my favorite card of all, the Vanguard, Dayusha. Now, he says most recent episode. I don't think that means episode 10. I do remember this guy's comic because he's bringing up Dayusha right here, right? I looked a little bit ahead, sorry. But okay, yeah, like what would that be? Like episode 3 or 4, I think he commented something like that. Something like that, yeah, because this was 20 days ago, right? So let's bear in mind that there's a little bit of a time capsule here. Anyway, in light of the new D-Series support given to my favorite card of all time, Dayusha, I've taken upon myself to make a few more cards to introduce his brother and justice into the D. I give you all a comment thread for the one and like Kai Za. Ooh, nice. Okay, cool. I only like read a little bit here, just off the flicker of my eye, but that was legitimately exciting. I was like, ooh, when he says brother, does he mean? And then he does mean. Epic. No, these cards are not meant to release all in one time. These cards are meant to release as sequential support over 2, maybe 3 sets. Ooh, that's an interesting idea for a custom. And all the grade 2 or lower units will share an effect to gain grade plus X and 5k shield, so as long as Die Kaiser is the Vanguard. X equals however much is needed for them to be a grade 3. What the heck? Okay. I guess what he means is, and let me explain this. I think what he means is there were a series of cards that were meant to support the Die Kaiser strategy, right? Which, for those of you who don't know, this is a very legendary card for Dimensional Robo. Die Kaiser has an effect, right, which is a guard break. When he reveals a grade 3 card for a drive check, you're able to retire one of your opponent's units on the Guardian Circle and then nullify their Sentinel effect, meaning you can't reliably Sentinel it unless you use multiple Sentinels. Furthermore, if you hard guard it with raw numbers, if he's checking multiple grade 3 units, he can start picking off your strongest shields once by once, hence the guard break feature. It's a very epic and very dicey kind of skill that really comes down to the heart of the cards, and honestly, for people who like Die Kaiser, they wouldn't have it any other way, me included. So, in order to support that, right, the point I'm getting to is a lot of the support cards were like grade 1 or 2 cards that also got treated as grade 3. They would gain like grade +1 or grade +2 when they were checked for your drive check, so that they could count as grade 3s to proc the condition. So I think that's what he means. All right, so let's get into this. I don't have a lot of tabs up here, just the one here. I might as well X that as well, just to get this going as quick as possible. And let's get a lot. Boo. That's probably the best way to get this going. Is that Shadow Kaiser I just saw? Ooh, that's a great Die Kaiser. Ooh. There's a Legion Die Kaiser. I see what you mean by multiple sets, because all these releasing at once would make absolutely no sense. Okay, so first off, we've got Dimensional Robo Kaiser Glider. Yep. This was the grade 1 for Kaiser. If you're going to make Kaiser support, this would be the grade 1 of choice. Act on the rear circle if your Vanguard is Dimensional Robo Kaiser, which is the grade 2 of choice, mind you, and your opponent's Vanguard is grade 2 or greater, cost Counterblast 1. This is a rear circle effect, by the way. And put this card into your soul. Okay. Choose up to 1 Super Dimensional Robo Die Kaiser from your ride deck and write it as stand. That's interesting compared to what we got with I think it was Die Mariner who did it. I forget which one of the D Robos did it, right? But for Dayusha, it was also if the opponent's grade 2 or greater, you can superior right into Dayusha. But the condition for that was you need to have a bunch of different D Robos in a soul, and it was an effect that activated from the soul. This one actually needs you to see Kaiser Glider specifically, but that's all you need to see is Kaiser Glider, Counterblast shoved into the soul, and then bada bing bada boom, you've made it up to Super Dimensional Robo Die Kaiser, right? Which is a pretty powerful skill, mind you, but costing a Counterblast could be pretty expensive if Die Kaiser himself doesn't have a Counterblast. Even Dayusha runs into a little bit of Counterblast issues in the early game. And although it requires less setup, let's also bear in mind that the way that the setup works, this isn't the most powerful effect in the world, right? Depending on the matchup, you actually wouldn't want to go to the grade 3 first. For instance, you might want to go to grade 3 second if you're going against Stride deck sets. You may want to go to grade 3 second if you're going up against a deck that comes online when the opponent's at grade 3 or greater, right? Like old school Ignis used to work that way because of Rock Art Grow's condition. So it's not always going to be the end-all be-all effect, but it is nice to still have this effect because it does share a thematic premise with Dayusha, and they play in a similar way to a point, albeit the way they get to the superior ride is a little bit different, with this one being more convenient. But if it is only this card and he's not easily searchable, then you could run into a little bit of a problem. Then again, maybe I'm not thinking about this correctly, because you could still use bases, right? And assuming that you use the base, at least get the base searcher off your grade 1, right? You can then use it to tutor Kaiser Glider from the deck into the soul, and then on the next turn energy blast and call him from the soul, and then you can use his axe skill. So you know what, never mind, this is just easier overall, I'd say. Could use in the deck trigger zone. If you have a Vanguard with Die Kaiser in its card name, it gets grade +2 and shield +5k. Okay, that's exactly what he was saying, so it is what I thought it was. Yeah, that's a very, very powerful skill, right? It helps turn your Die Kaiser online more frequently. It makes the guard break ever more consistent, and that's all we have to say about that. 10k shield's also very nice. It does allow you to run front triggers more reliably, because you have a plethora of 10k shields, in case 10k shields the optimal guard number. Out on the rear. At the end of battle, this unit boosted a rear guard with Dimensional Robo in its card name. Any rear guard, that's important. Cost retire this unit. Search your deck or drop for up to 1 base card placed in your order zone. If you place a card, ooh, that's kinda hot tamales, bro. Like, this is an insane skill. Being able to set your base immediately, albeit base is an axe skill, so you won't be able to get a mileage off of it that turn. Being able to just play your base from the deck or drop zone is so insane, dude. And the retire doesn't even matter. You're just making space in order to call other D-Robos that do have effect when they're placed from the soul, right? Because once Kaiser Glider does his job, dude, he's done his job. You don't need to search anymore with this. Being able to get a base and not have to use a counterblast for it like Die Lady is such an awesome resource economy maneuver there. Like, retire be damned. And on top of that, let's also keep in mind that it's giving you energy charge 1. That means that that's already half the cost to just plus back a Dimensional Robo of your choice from the soul to the field. That's an insane effect. Like, holy crap, dude. Like, this is like the kind of effect I would have anticipated on a promo card to support D-Robo a few sets down the line. Because, you know, promos have very insane effects that touch on all the bases that a deck needs in order to be better. This really screams something like that. So, yeah, I mean, this is going to be one of the most, like, this is just the staple of, like, standard D-Robos, period, right? If you're not doing the Kaiser stuff, this part alone makes an automatic include in Dayusha, if you ask me. What an insane card. Kaiser Glider is next level, dude. All right, next up is Kaizard. All right, makes sense. I like the arts that they got going on here. You know, it like with the encounter background, it feels appropriate. Okay. 2, 5k shield, all the normal stats. Auto on the Vanguard circle. Okay, so you'd run this instead of Die Dragon for your ride line, which makes sense because Die Dragon goes to Dayusha, Kaiser goes to Die Kaiser. When this unit is rode upon by a grade 3 with Die Kaiser in its card name, draw a card. Choose up to 1 card with Dimensional Robo in its card name from your hand, call it to rear, and it gains 5k power at end of turn. And it also has the skill in deck, hand, or trigger zone to be treated as a grade 3 with 5k with an extra 5k shield if you have a Die Kaiser Vanguard. Okay, so that, like you said, you know, that's just ubiquitous skill there. I like this ride line skill. Being able to get yourself a draw and then also call an extra 5k, it's like a different way of doing the Dayusha thing. The way Dayusha worked, you would be able to call Die Dragon from the soul and it would give itself 5k in the defensive skill. This guy is getting you the draw and then the potential to get 5k on a D-Robo you call, but if you don't call a D-Robo, you still just get the free draw with it. That's pretty convenient if you ask me, man. I kind of like that. Now, of course, one thing about Kaizard is that he's not a very high value target in the soul or the drop, so you probably won't be tutoring him back out with base, because even if you would call him for the 10k intercept that he provides, that's not very high value, and there's always Die Dragon as a main deck Dimensional Robo, which is effectively a 15k intercept just by retiring itself for plus 15k into the end of battle. So as far as being a unit on the field, he's quite weak, but he is mandatory to run as a part of your ride line in order to secure your ride into Die Kaiser, and the draw alone I think is enough to make it a pretty worthy part, right? I think it's more or less on par, maybe a little bit weaker than what your Die Dragon brought to the table, but even just raw drop out of the hand is kind of nice by virtue of the low hand size that D-Robo often suffers with, including, if not especially, the standard version. Even Dayusha's Draw doesn't help very much, right? Because you're having to neg 1 every time you restand him unless you bind the Goyusha. So that is a very notable problem, which I outline in my deck profile for D-Robos. I'm just gassing up a lot of my different videos today. I don't know why I'm upselling, you know, forgive me, guys. But, you know, I guess that's just part of being YouTuber, man. Okay, so let's go ahead and ride right on into Super Dimensional Robo. Daikaiser! Ugh. Okay, auto on the Vanguard circle. Oh, it doesn't have the little parentheses thing there. When this unit is placed by riding over a Dimensional Robo Kaizard, even more reason to run Kaizard. Cost Soul Blast 1. Search your deck for up to 1 unit with Dimensional Robo in its card name and do one of the following effects depending on the grade of the selected unit, which, keep in mind, they're probably treated as grade 3, right? If I remember correctly, these guys are treated as grade 3 a lot of the time. Let me check that real quick. Come on, computer. Work with me here. So if I remember correctly just now, deckhand, okay, so Kaizard and, yep, deck trigger zone. Okay. So yeah, they're all grade 3s, which means that you, any grade 2 or less conditions only going to apply to a D-Robo that isn't with the Kaiser line. Grade 2 or less, call it to an open rear circle, and both that unit, this unit get power plus 5,000 to end of turn. That's cool. It's up to stuff with what standard D-Robo does, which is more based on having a complete formation of board presence with the various different D-Robos. That's very nice. Grade 3 plus, okay. In other words, if you have a grade 4 or whatever, you could do it as well. Add the unit to your hand. You cannot call units with the same name as the added unit for the rest of the turn. This is interesting. I know there's a Great Daikaiser, and there's also like some Legion type card going into it as well. So what I'm assuming is going on here is you're supposed to add the Great Daikaiser, and then there's a way of superior writing the dude, because you can't call units with the same name. You may write them. So I'm going to look out for that. That's an interesting stipulation. The first effect is really cool, and I like it. I also like that it's limited to placing over. So that means if you Persona ride Daikaiser, you can get this plus again for a simple Soul Blast, which is easy. But if you ride into Great Daikaiser, you might not be able to utilize this again, which is a good balancing aspect. It's cool. Auto on the Vanguard circle once per turn. When this unit attacks a grade 3 or greater Vanguard, costs Counterblast 1. Choose one of your other units with Dimensional Robo in its card name. It gets 5,000 power. If that unit's power exceeds 30,000, alright, so we got a burst type condition, this unit gets drive plus 1 until end of that battle. Okay. There's something I like about this and something I don't like about this. So, know that Daikaiser was originally a break ride unit. You would break ride over Daikaiser in order to get its skill, right? But here, and I mean the V-Series one, you know, like that one also had a break ride effect, but with the V-Series one, it had the skill to also guard break, right? This one doesn't guard break at all. What it does instead is it gets an extra drive, and then it also gives a little bit power to another Dimensional Robo. And this one is also tutoring a Dimensional Robo and getting power, or it's adding a card to the hand. So it's kind of like a break ride unit in the sense that it's setting everything up for your big burst play. But at the same time, this guy in of himself doesn't really do all that much. He's just setting up the various aspects of plussing, getting cards in your hand, being able to amass more power, as is the Dimensional Robo tradition. But he doesn't have the guard break in of himself, which means that, yeah, even more so, I don't think you're going to be constantly riding into this dude unless there's an effect I haven't read yet, because you'll want to go for the Great Daikaiser, which is going to do a lot of your guard break. It feels a little bit backwards, because how it worked with regular Daikaiser is he gave the guard break as his break ride skill, and it was Great Daikaiser that gained a drive of his own skill, which would compound on the danger of the guard break that he received from the break ride. So this might be a little bit backwards there. Not that I'm opposed to it, of course, right? But it is a little bit interesting to see that in reverse. It took me by surprise not seeing the guard break actually on the main unit himself, right? Okay, so here's Dai Bazooka. Here, let me get this to full screen. Continuous in the Decker Trigger Zone. It gets a grade +1 and power +5k shield, as you would expect from a grade 2 for this set. Auto on the rear circle. Once per turn, when this unit attacks a Vanguard, if you have a Vanguard with Daikaiser in its card name, you draw a card, and this unit gets 5k until end of turn. Then, if your Persona wrote this turn, you counterblast 1 and discard 1 card from your hand. Your opponent cannot call grade 1 or greater units to Guardian Circle. So it ooh, that's a Sentinel restrict, and you would probably amass a lot of your power onto Dai Bazooka specifically so that he could be a potential rearguard finisher. I mean, heck, checking Elder Breath of this dude is just absolutely monstrous for your opponent. They cannot guard that. That's a really strong effect. One thing I will say about it though is I don't appreciate that the draw is completely free. What I would say is put the counterblast here, right? So when it attacks a Vanguard, if you have a Vanguard with Daikaiser in its card name, counterblast 1. Draw a card, and this unit gets 5,000 power until end of turn. Then, if you Persona Road this turn, cost, discard a card from your hand, and your opponent cannot call grade 1 or greater units to Guardian Circle. That's how I would change that. Still, that's a very, very strong effect. The ability to put all of your eggs into this one basket and be able to deny not just a regular PG, you can also deny something like Liela Morta, right? Which is an alternative guard condition because it says grade 1 or greater cards. So those, what's his name? Ace and Aces Dragon likes are also off the table. Of course, you can Elementaria Sanctitude it, thankfully, because it's just calling grade 1 or greaters. But even so, this is a very threatening unit. I think it is allowed, especially because Deep Robo does need a little bit more killing potential, because a lot of what Deep Robo has going for it right now in this format is the early beatdown potential. It doesn't have a lot of kill power. So I do dig this. Although, of course, it is kind of funny to have a guard restrict for a rear guard when your Vanguard should theoretically also be guard breaking. I'm like, man, what is a PG even good for in this matchup? Just for the other rear guard, as long as it isn't also a die bazooka. I mean, I guess it is expensive to do this though, right? Because you are counterblasting and then discarding to do it. But it gave you the draw for free, and so the discard basically means nothing. So really, it's a counterblast, and then you get the 5k and the guard restrict. But the draw and discard means that you're breaking even, but it's, I guess, kind of a hand filter, which is a minor benefit. Yeah, you would have this on the front lines at all times, and it's also just a good VA take intercept for you. So yeah, really good card there. Definitely one of your staples for this wave of support. Super Dimensional Robo Shadow Kaiser. Okay, and this is the reason why you can't call a grade 3 that you add, because Shadow Kaiser has a rearguard effect, I imagine. Continuous on the rearguard circle. Yep, if you have a Vanguard with Daikaiser in its card name, this unit gets 5,000 power, so of course it doesn't get any grade or shield because it doesn't have shield normally. You don't need it to shield for you, and it gets power instead because it's already a grade 3 and doesn't need any shield. Fair enough. Act on the rear circle once per turn. If you have a Vanguard but Daikaiser in its card name, you have 2 or more bases in your order zone. All right, done. We'll get 1 automatically, and then one of our Kaiser gliders can fetch us a 2nd automatically, or just use a Die Lady. And you did not ride this turn. Okay, that's also important. Costs Soul Blast 1, Energy Blast 3, and put this card in your soul. Breach your deck or drop. Breach it? What is this TCG? This sounds like I'm playing. Oh god, I feel like I've heard this word before. Is it like Luck and Logic WeCross? It's something. I don't know if there's any TCG that says that, but it feels like I've heard this before. But anyway, it should be search your deck. Search your deck or drop for up to 1 grade 3 card with Daikaiser in its name and write it as stand and activate Persona Ride. Okay, so keep in mind you have to not ride this turn. But when you do, you get the Persona Ride. This is an absolutely bonkers effect, and I actually don't like this effect. Here's the reason why. This right here is letting you activate Persona Ride on turn 3, even if you went first. Or, I mean, yeah, like, even if you went first, right? Or even if you went second, you kind of go first because you go to grade 3 first, right? That's your ride line. So what you do is when you go to grade 3, whether it be on turn 2 or on turn 2 or turn 3, right? So let's say you, oh wait, hold on a second. Maybe I'm misunderstanding. So you need to not road this turn, right? So that means you ride while the opponent's on grade 2. Actually, no. Ignore what I said. I forgot that there's a condition with the ride line where the opponent has to be the one going first in order to superior ride, which means that the Persona Ride is only active if you went second, like actually went second because you need to not have road. And then in that case, if you did just go second naturally without using the ride line, then you would have to wait an extra turn. This would be a turn 4 Persona Ride, which is fine. If you went first, and you go and you got this, yeah, okay, I got it, right? So either way, you wouldn't be able to like do this before the opponent is grade 3. Whew, okay, that's cool. That completely recontextualizes this card for me. Now, the Soul Blast to put this card into Soul means that you're kind of breaking even on your Soul there. And but the Energy Blast is actually an impactful resource because you use those in order to plus to the field with your various bases. So Energy Blast means a lot here. So Energy Blasting 3 is a pretty fair cost, right? This will let you get a Kaiser, right? Being able to activate, being able to activate a Persona Ride isn't just the best part about this card, right? Persona Ride with drive and a bunch of power is cool, but since it's when placed by, wait a minute. Oh crap, I forgot something else. This card can only use the Soul Blast effect when it's riding over Kaizard, so you can't even do this again if you're doing a Persona Ride. Duh, oh, I so goofed. Yeah. This card, this effect is perfectly balanced. You only get to do it once a game, and this doesn't exploit that. You're just doing it to get a Persona Ride skill, and potentially what you do is you Superior Ride into one of your other Kaisers, and then you just go from there. Oh. Okay, yeah. No complaints. Perfect cost. The restrictions behind it are completely fair, and your search range is completely fair as well. Ignore what I said there. You will not be riding Daikaiser over Daikaiser. You'll be going on to this beauty, right? Oh, wow, this one's actually in the SP foil. I guess in his theoretical set releases, this card would be important enough to be an SP, which, why wouldn't it be? It's the freaking Gorito Daikaiser. Continues in the hand Decker Vanguard Circle. During this fight, this unit is also regarded as Super Dimensional Robo Daikaiser. Okay, so that means that even without the use of Shadow Kaiser, you'll be able to proc Persona Ride when you ride over Daikaiser. That's pretty convenient, right? It does mean that Shadow Kaiser is really only there in order to spare your hand and get the ride easier. But considering that you do have the neg one in order to do it, I think it's a pretty fair trade-off, because keep in mind you are just removing a card from the hand into the soul. So auto on the Vanguard Circle. Ooh, this is a little bit tough to read because of the SP, but that's just because he be shining, yo. When this unit is placed, costs Counterblast 1 and Energy Blast 2. Okay, both very impactful resources. I also like that whereas Soul Blast is more of what Shadow Kaiser and Daikaiser are doing, the Great Daikaiser is touching more on the Counterblast and Energy Blast aspect. Although I guess regular Kaiser also did use a Counterblast for its drive ad. Search your deck for up to one unit with Dimensional Robo in its card name, and you may call it to rear circle. If you did not call, and the selected, add the selected card, it says and, so I think it should say add the selected card to the hand, and discard one card. If you Persona Road this turn, you may select 2 units instead of 1. Oh, okay, okay. So, what's interesting about this is, this card doesn't have a restriction on a turn 4 ride. You can ride this first and use this skill in order to search for something, but when you do that, you're not getting the full effect. So this is a turn 4 play in order to effectively plus 2. Yeah. I mean, that's pretty powerful, but at the same time, I don't think that's overly powerful, but wow, your search radius is so impactful there, dude. I mean, And then, at least you can't call Shadow Kaiser and then do Shadow Kaiser, because you have just Rodin by placing this guy in the Vanguard Circle. Ooh. Yeah, okay, cool. And if you're adding to the hand, which means you're adding, like, Persona Rights or whatever, then, you know, you'd have to discard. I do have to discard twice for this. Let's see. Let me select 2. If not call in the selected, add the selected unit hand instead. Yeah, I guess you'd have to discard 2 if you add 2 to the hand. So yeah, you'll just call 2 to the field then. That's a really strong, that's almost like some Royal Paladin level field construction. Auto once per turn. This unit attacks the Vanguard. Oh boy, here it comes. If you have 4 or more units with Dimensional Robo and their card names on rear circle, okay, so we need a full formation. Good. Well, an almost full formation. Cost: Soul Blast 1 and discard 1 from your hand. This unit gets drive +1 until the end of the turn. If you have 4 more units with Dimensional Robo in their card names, which that's a dumb stipulation, because you already need 4 or more units of Dimensional Robo in their card names in order to pay this cost, right? So why do you need 4 or more units of Dimensional Robo in their card name again? Because it's already firewall behind that same condition, so it's completely redundant. Choose one other unit and it gets power plus 10,000 until end of this turn. That's really hard to see. Again, there's no guard restrict. So even Daikaiser here isn't picking off any cards, and honestly, yeah, this guy also doesn't really care about the grades and stuff, right? So you just call, what you do is just call 2 of your rear guards, and then you soul blast and discard in order to get a drive and give 10k to the unit. It really is just an upgraded version of regular Die Kaiser, which I guess makes more sense as to why you would just have it be treated as Die Kaiser. Okay, this effect is pretty cool, and I also do kind of like this effect, but honestly, I don't think I like the application overall, because Great Die Kaiser should be a finisher that goes in tandem with the regular Die Kaiser, but he doesn't have his signature guard break here, right? So imagine if this was sets, right? If you're doing this over multiple sets, like imagine releasing the initial wave of Die Kaiser stuff, even if this guy's included in it, and saying, yeah, here's your Die Kaiser stuff. By the way, he doesn't have his most iconic ability. What? Why would he do that? And that's the problem I have with this unit. Now, of course, admittedly, I think once we get to like the Legion card there, it'll make everything all better, because that better have the guard break, or I'm gonna refund. But that aside, none of the effects here are offensive, and I do particularly appreciate that it's still focusing on having a board, because that means there's still synergy with bases and your other Robo units. That said, yeah, I'm a little disappointed we didn't get to the good stuff yet. Overall, I'd probably say this is about like an 7.5 or 8 out of 10. There's nothing ostensibly about the effects, but I feel like they're misplaced here. This effect, though, I think this effect, like, imagine this was like a guard break skill and this was its main effect. I think that'd be pretty cool, because then you'd be able to like have the full combo in of itself there. And then maybe what Die Kaiser does is that when something right over Die Kaiser, you'd be able to like give it more benefits, like maybe like a critical, and also the and maybe another condition to it, more power, or maybe a different layer guard restrict there. That way you are still getting a very powerful, threatening, lethal Vanguard swing, which is the way Die Kaiser worked. And at the same time, you're still, paying respect to the D-Robos that are more important in the standard format. Okay, we're on to the final card here. This is True Ultimate Dimensional Robo Great Die Kaiser. Yep. This is the end goal. Continuous from the deck, hand, or Vanguard circle. During this fight, this card is also regarded as Ultimate Dimensional Robo Great Die Kaiser. Okay, so Kaiser to Great Die Kaiser, and then Great Die Kaiser to True Great Die Kaiser. Okay, and A does not equal C, but A equals B and B equals C. So it's kind of like a mathematical impossibility if we put it that way. But okay, fair enough. Okay. Act once per turn. Vanguard. If you have 4 or more cards with Dimensional Robo in their card names on rear circle, that same condition, you Soul Blast 1 and discard 1, that same cost. Choose this unit and 1 unit on rear circle. They both get power plus 5,000 until end of turn. If you Persona Road this turn, they get power plus 10,000 until end of turn. Right, because you could just have this dude be your first ride yet again. Okay, and when you're first riding something, I mean, you could have it be your first ride, but then again, I guess why would you? Because your ride line asks for Die Kaiser specifically, the regular one, and this does a Persona ride with Die Kaiser. Okay, so I guess I kind of see the through line there, how he's trying to balance it, because again, A does not equal C, therefore you wouldn't place C over A, but A is what you get from your ride line. Auto on the Vanguard circle. When this unit attacks the Vanguard, counter blast 2. Ooh, okay. Pretty hefty cost. It also reminds me of the old school D-Robo, because you had to counter blast 2, I think, in order to get the drive. Apply one of the following effects. Your Persona this turn, apply both effects instead. Countercharge 1, well, there goes the counter blast 2, and this unit gets drive plus 1 until end of turn. Okay, cool. And when your drive check reveals a grade 3 unit, retire one of your opponent's guardians. If it was a Dimensional Robo unit, that unit cannot be hit, effects are nullified. Ooh, I do like the Dimensional Robo add-on there, so that you can't drive checks to like Grady's Gradle and be like, hey, ping. Still, that's just like a minor thing. See, this I like. Okay. So the way this is working, and I kind of like how this is going. You're able to ride the Great Die Kaiser, whether it be from Shadow Kaiser or just by hard riding the sucker, right? When you ride it over regular Die Kaiser, you'll be able to get the full effect. You'll get the guard break, you'll get the drive, you'll get everything. And it's all on this package. And at the same time, the axe skill will be able to choose to give this dude a bunch of power, and also a unit on the rear guard, which is a even distribution of power for both the Vanguard and the rear guard, which is almost an even distribution of importance, therefore. Cool stuff there. Here's what I would say, right? considering this is the entire package, you want to get to true ultimate dimensional Robo as soon as possible at all times, which makes everything else feel superfluous. So, and in all honesty, I kind of hate to say this, but a part of me wants to say that you just don't use the ride line. Like, if you, let's say you ride up to Daikaiser normally. Well, actually, no. Ooh. Okay, here's the thing. Let's say your optimal scenario pans out and you get to do the superior ride. Turn 2 is Daikaiser. Turn 3 is Great Daikaiser. Turn 4 is True Great Daikaiser. But let's say you had to go, you had to go. Well, yeah, no, I guess if you go first, you'll get to grade 3 first. But that means that when you go first, you're getting to grade 3 on turn 3 instead of turn 2. So that means if you're going first, which you don't want, but you might have to do it, it's turn 3 is Kaiser, turn 4 is great, and then turn 5 is true grade. That's turn 5 to get to the good stuff. That's a bit too long, if you ask me, man. And because Shadow Kaiser doesn't care, like it does care that you wrote that turn, meaning that you can't like ride skip. Even with the searchability at hand here, you're still having to wait your turn. Ooh, and then I guess, and so yeah, you would probably, in order to get this as soon as possible by turn 4, what you would then do is you would have to just do this the normal way, right? You would just, on turn 3, ride your regular Great Daikaiser, and then turn 4, cross Persona ride True Great Daikaiser, and then try to finish the game there. Which means that the other Daikaiser, like, yeah, it has searching and has power, but when you're doing the ride line, you might ironically be slower to get to Great Daikaiser because of the way the different personas work. Yeah, because again, you wouldn't want to ride this without Persona. Like, you could, I guess what you could do is do just regular Daikaiser, go into True Great Daikaiser, and then on turn 5, you get the Persona ride, but that means on turn 4, you still at least get to do the guard break for Counterblast 2. You just wouldn't get the drive, but I guess you would get the power. But then that feels kind of weak, right? Like, yeah, he gets a little bit 5k power with the axe skill, and that's about it. I don't know. Like, I do like the progression of it. Like, it just feels a little too slow. I think turn 5 is a little bit slow for it. Like, and the reason why I think it's slow is I don't mind a turn 5 play if it's like the true finisher. I mind a turn 5 play where the main call of your deck isn't until turn 5. I want to at least feel like I'm doing something meaningful until then, and all these guys really do is just get drive and call some units, right? It just feels like some basic stuff that doesn't feel too D-Robo. Because it's not D-Robo until you have the super knockout punch effect, which is only on True Great Daikaiser. Okay, I'm going to move on from this now, but what I will say is I think you have a lot of incredible ideas here, but your one crippling flaw with this design, right? Everything else is really good. I like your cost, I like your attention to detail of the bases, I like how you make your rear guard support, and I also like the individual effects on these units. The only thing I would say is I think you push the guard break too far back, and that has a host of problems when it comes to player satisfaction and how the deck functions in a timely manner in an actual game state. If you push that earlier and had True Great Daikaiser expand on it by also having the skill and then some, I think you would be perfect. But without that, I'm going to give these an 8 out of 10 for now. It's still a high reward, it's still a high score, but it's losing 2 whole points because of that pushback. But it's only going to lose 2 points because of that pushback. Alright, let's see. Alright, and how long have you been recording for? 47 minutes? Okay, yeah, cool. We have enough to get Water Fairy 518173 done. Okay. Don't know if this is still a thing, but I made these a while back. Angelic Star Coral. Oh, it's Coral support. Boost, grade 0, 6k. Auto, when this unit is rolled upon, if you win second, draw 1 card. Okay, so this is standard Coral then. We're not doing Coral support for V-Series, which I guess makes sense because Coral already has like V-Series Bulwark, like as it is, so you wouldn't want to give more, and least of all, starter, right? Fresh Star Coral is a grade 1 with the normal grade 1 stats, it looks like. Auto on the Vanguard circle, and this unit is placed by riding from Angelic Star Coral. Okay, so you must use the starter, makes sense. Search your deck for up to 1 star card and place it in your order zone to face up. Ooh, we got a set order skill with the Lyrical Monasterio. Shuffle your deck. Auto on the rear. When this unit is placed, search your deck for up to 1 unit with Coral in its card name, put it in your soul, shuffle your deck. Okay, so selective soul charging. This goes part and parcel like Coral was. Coral had a more soul-based shenanigan going on. You amass soul and you get rid of it in order to like do your big plays, right? It's kind of feels like a Genesis unit sometimes that way. I made it. Grade 1 order, it's okay, so it's a grade 1 star set order, so it's what the grade 1 searches for in the ride line. At the end of your, okay, so during your turn, all of your units, front row units, gain power plus 1k for each Coral card in your soul. Okay. What's interesting about that is that this stacks, which means with 2, it's 2k, with 3, it's 3k for each Coral card in the soul. I like that card design. I think it's just, it's because of the stacking thing, you have to take time in order to get it to a really significant boost, but once you get it to a significant food, you feel accomplished and it feels appropriately powerful getting there, so you have good incentive for it. That's good. That's a good effect. Auto, at the end of your ride phase, choose 1 normal unit with a grade less than or equal to your Coral Vanguard. Okay, add the chosen card to your hand, and it's a normal unit, I assume from your fields. Add the chosen card to your hand. If you already added a card to your hand with the effect of I made it this turn, place the chosen card in your soul this turn. Wait, hold on a second. I made it. Oh, right. So each of these, so you bounce a unit to your hand, and then what you do is you have to suck the others into soul. This is an interesting effect, right? Because if I'm reading this right, that means that, yeah, the self bounce is only happening at the end of the ride phase, so you kind of could early rush a little bit by bouncing 1 unit back once it's time for you to ride into like grade 2 or grade 3 and stuff, so that's kind of nice. But then afterwards, if your opponent has control, then the self bounce is going to matter very much unless you're trying to refresh your on play skills in typical Bermuda fashion. The real interesting part of this is the suck up and the soul part, because you're technically negging when you're doing this every time, right? So having multiples of these is cool for power game, but that does mean that if you do have continued field presence at the end of the turn, you're going to have to lose some if you have more than 1 there. That's a little bit unfortunate, but if you need to amass soul and the payoff is really that massive aside from just this power game in the front row, then you may very well do it, and you would probably deliberately bounce back a regular non-Coral unit. Let's see. Yeah, because it just says choose a normal unit with grade less than or equal to Coral. It doesn't have to be a Coral, right? So you would just choose a non-Coral, add it to the hand, and then you put the Corals into soul. That would be your way of doing it. Ooh, I haven't actually needed a swig in a little bit. Good. Shiny Star Coral. Grade 2, intercept 10k power. Auto, when this unit is placed by riding on Fresh Star Coral or is ridden over by Aurora Star Coral. Wow, okay. Not very often you see a ride line do something like that. Search your deck for up to 1 star card and place it in your order zone. Place it in your order zone? Whoa. Ooh. I mean, this isn't doing too much, so honestly, I don't mind that you're turboing it, but at the same time, the fact that you don't even have to make it be your regular order play for the turn means that you could legitimately do some order shenanigans in Coral, and this would be one heck of a ride line. You're getting 2 pluses in a way with it, but at the same time, they're not true pluses because nothing about this pluses. It actually negs you, if anything. It's just getting you more power, so you're just kind of getting more setup for your power. You know what? That's fine. Because the SAR card is not that hyper impactful as it is, it's fine. Get them quickly as you want, and then your real goal is not to ramp these, because ramping these are super easy, it looks like. The bigger goal is to ramp up your soul to make these more worthwhile. All right. I can get behind that playstyle. Auto on the van or rear. When this unit attacks a Vanguard, choose one of your rear and turn one of your rear circle and return all cards on that circle to the hand. If this unit's on Vanguard, choose 2 instead. That's really nuts though, dude. Ooh, you know what? Ooh, you get to self bounce 2 when it attacks as a both a van or well, you get to bounce 1 as a rear and bounce 2 as a Vanguard. That's super insane for your early rush. You could call, get all of your effects, and then bounce them back, right? Like, imagine comboing this with like Melty or some crap. Oh, wow. That's one heck of a coral, dude. Yeah, I mean, I feel like you should add a cost to that one, Buster. Maybe, I'm not sure what you would add to it. Maybe like a counterblast or something. Well, ooh, I guess a counterblast would be a little bit too harsh for, well, no, because the self-bounce rate, like a self-bounce is still pretty good. I guess you could do a soul blast, but then again, ooh, but I get why you wouldn't soul blast, because soul blasting directly gets in the way of your game plan, which is to amass your corals. So can this actually just be a free bounce to the hand on rear? Okay, here's what I'll say. If not cost, then condition. When this unit attacks a Vanguard, if you have a Vanguard with coral in its card name, then do it, right? It'll still work because this is a grade 2 coral, so it'll work with its own name, and then it'll work with your Aurora Star coral. Okay. That's really strong. This grade 2 is insanely strong, but I'm going to say it's fine. In terms of its effects, it actually does do all the things you wanted to do, so I do like the harmony with the deck pattern. I just wonder if it doesn't do a little bit too much. Wow, what a staple. I guess you would just have to run this as like a self-bounce staple and just keep it at that. Especially because it also doesn't bounce back like coral specifically or anything like that. You just bounce back whatever you want. So yeah, just name restricted to coral and I think you're fine. Because otherwise this would be one heck of a Lyrical Monasterio's like staple. Aurora Star Coral. Grade 3 Twin Drive 13k could choose. The Vanguard Circle, this unit is also treated as Shangri-La Star Coral. Okay, so you're already trying to set up a cross persona ride. Continuous on the Vanguard Circle. Another continuous skill. If your opponent's Vanguard is grade 3 or higher, or grade 3 or greater would be the terminology technically, this unit gains the auto ability of Shangri-La Coral in your soul. Oh, okay, so this one's worded a little bit weird. I guess the idea is that you can only get one instance of auto ability from Shangri-La Coral. And if that's the case, then this is fine. But the wording's a little bit weird, so I hope it doesn't like get like multiple Shangri-La Corals' respective auto abilities. Auto on the Vanguard Circle. When this unit attacks a Vanguard, the thing I don't. Oh wait, well I guess it's to continue on the Vanguard Circle that can treat it as a Shangri-La Coral, which means that when it's in the soul, it's no longer a Shangri-La, so you can't get this auto skill. All right, good. That's good card balance. When this unit attacks a Vanguard, technical misspelling, cost counterblast 1. Choose one of your rear circle for every 2 coral cards in your soul and return all cards on those circles to your hand. This card just slaughters whatever Link Joker matchup would come your way. Messiah better run away from this grab. Then you can call up to the same number of unit. Well, I guess Messiah already binds like during your end phase, so you can't get locked up during the standard format. But if you're playing in premium, yeah, this absolutely slaughters it. But then again, premium Bermuda already slaughters that matchup, so who freaking cares? Then you can call up to the same number of units from your hand to rear circle as cards return to your hand by this effect, which means that that's a heck of a multi-attack, right? So if you have 2 corals in soul, you multi-attack once. If you have 4 corals in soul, you multi-attack 2, and then so on and so forth, which means you can, if you get 8 corals in soul, which I'm not sure how easy or hard that is, you're I guess you're kind of putting what your rears into soul in order to do it, so you could do it because of your star cards, but let's assume this takes a little while, right? But once you get to it, you know, that's 4 cards being called back. And this unit gets power plus 5k for each card called. Ooh, it's going to be a big effect. This ability may only be used by a card with the same name once per turn, so it's got a hard once per turn to it. Oh, wait, hold on a second. I think I might understand why. If there's a superior ride effect that comes with Shangri-La Coral, then I can understand where Shangri-La would then superior ride back in Aurora, but then you can't use this effect again. Okay, so I guess I kind of get it. All right. So it really, what it is at the end of the day is it gets Shangri-La's effect, but then it's a bounce recall plus 5k power. Not the most inspired effect in the world, but I think the scaling to the coral cards in soul does at least mean that you can feel some amount of enjoyment in trying to build up the condition, and it gets incrementally better the more effort you put into it. Those are always the best ramp decks in my opinion, not in terms of meta viability, but just in design. I love it when the ramp never really stops. You keep on ramping out of control if you want to. There's nothing more satisfying than that, man. Okay, so now we're going to Shangri-La Coral. Grade 3 Twin Drive 13k base, all the other good stuff. Continues in the Vanguard Circle. This unit is also treated as Aurora Star Coral. All right. Continues in the Vanguard Circle. If your opponent's Vanguard is grade 3 or higher, again greater, this unit gets the auto ability of Aurora Star Coral in your soul. That means that you get this auto ability to do the bounce thing, but Since it's also treated as a Aurora Star Coral, that means that the hard once per turn is still important in case you do get this effect multiple times somehow. So let's see. Auto on the Vanguard circle. When this unit attacks a Vanguard, costs Counterblast 1. This unit gets fire plus 5k and drive plus 1 for every 4 corals in your soul until end of turn. At the end of that battle, discard 2 cards from your hand, stand this unit, and get drive minus 2 until end of turn. This ability may only be used by the same card name. So if I'm understanding this right, the way this works then is if you've got a coral, then what you do is you Persona Ride Shangri-La Coral, and then you'll be able to get the effects of regular coral as well as this effect, which is a 6 attack. Okay, if you get 4 corals in your soul, which you need in order to get this anyway, you get a 6 attack turn with plus 20 plus 15k to the Vanguard, and then plus 5k to the rear guards, 10k from the Persona Ride, and then it's also going to, 2 of them is going to be Vanguard attacks, which is going to be going for triple drive and then single drive. Ooh. It's a Counterblast 2 play, but I think Counterblast alone doesn't justify how strong of a... The thing I don't like about this is, yeah, that's a really big play, of course. You need to build corals, but like, it doesn't feel like building corals is that hard, especially because your rewrites are going to build up your corals. Once you hit 4, man, that's a lot of attacks, each with power and the ability to Persona Ride and also the extra drive check. To keep it into perspective, right, this basically... I think depending on how powerful your corals are, I think you might play this over something like Vivash, right? And Vivash was a pretty insane set 13 card, and this card is like doing a lot of that work. I guess it's a little bit more Counterblast, and I think Vivash might be able to get higher numbers on the rear guards overall, but still, wow, this is really, really strong, dude. And the 5k for each card called, I'm assuming this is until end of turn. So yeah, that beatdown is kind of wild. These are both when attacks a Vanguard, by the way, as well. So that means you can get the plus like 15k for both battles that you do it with. Yeah, you might want to chill out on that. That's a lot going on. I feel like it might have been better if they didn't share each other's effects, because that just means you get the best of both worlds no matter what you ride. And so all you do is you just do this very simple helmet play pattern of re-ride one of the corals, which builds a coral, and then you get a bunch of power and multi-attack, and that's it, right? I feel like you might have been better served trying to have various conditions based on the number of corals that get incrementally stronger and more devastating, but not just based on beatdown multi-attack, because it's not very interesting or inspired. And with the way it's doing it right now, it's too consistent and easy for the level beatdown that you're getting. So yeah, I'd probably get these about this is pretty interesting to me though, so I think I'm gonna get these about like a 6 out of 10. Admire Successor Lyrica. Grade 1 boost 8k. Auto on the rear. When this unit is placed, look at the top 7 cards of your deck, add a coral, put a card from hand to the soul. So it's ooh, yeah, okay, so you get a coral, which can also include a Persona Ride, mind you, which makes it even easier. Oh wow, and then you know what that means? Oh crap. That means if you see like a Shangri-La coral there, you put it into like the soul, and then whoa, or heck man, actually what you do, okay. So you get a Shangri-La, yeah. You get a Shangri-La coral top 7, you put it in the soul, and then Aurora is gonna be able to use Shangri-La, ooh, what the frick? Back out of that. I don't know what I did there. You get Shangri-La's and its own effects like right away. So you'll be able on turn 3, even without Persona Ride, you'll be able to turn 3 do this effect as long as the opponent is grade 3 or greater, right? Which is the one stipulation I do like about it, but like, wow, that's a lot of power and attacks. I know I didn't get on Overlord enough for that, but in retrospect, I think like the Overlord's Slayer was also having this problem where I'm like, I don't think just going second justifies how much you're doing for how easy it is to accomplish it. Okay, and then it has an act in the soul. If you have a grade 3 or greater coral in its Vanguard, put a normal unit from hand to soul, call this to rear. Okay, so you're breaking even, which also builds coral. So again, just another way to easily build your corals. This is an insane card. This card's already like... And what's also crazy about this card, right, is Lyrica is able to combo with itself. So you can effectively put another copy of itself from the hand to the soul to call it to rear, and then since it's placed, when it's placed, you'll be able to look at top 7, right? So you just like put a Lyrica off Lyrica, proc first Lyrica's effect, and then put a Coral off second Lyrica, and then proc second Lyrica's effect. Easy peasy lemon squeezy. You got 3 corals right there, plus all the corals that you get from the ride line. You can easily build corals with this kind of card, man. That's wild. Faithful Follower Lorica. 8k with auto. Okay, so it's just a normal grade 1. When this unit is returned to your hand from your circle, cost Soul Blast 1, draw a card. Then you have a Coral Vanguard, countercharge 1. You cannot countercharge for the effect of Faithful Follower Lorica again this turn, which means you can countercharge by other sources, which is why it's better to have an effect that says if you haven't countercharged this turn, period. Soul Blast 1 to draw and countercharge for it's not unheard of, but I think this is way too much. Like, Soul Blast for both of these effects is already really primo, right? So I think you need more conditions. Being bounced from your Coral is easy. You're going to be able to achieve it from turn 3 onwards every single freaking turn. And the Coral Vanguard restriction just keeps it from being like the best thing to ever happen in Lyrical Monasterio, period, which isn't really much of a benchmark, right? So I think you need to chill out on this. If any, and again, like, just making the Counterblast easy is one of the only things that I like really don't want to happen here, because the Counterblast 2 is one of the only things that's keeping you from being able to spam this repeatedly turn after turn, right? So this easy countercharge, I'd rather you have like an effect that like gave power when it got bounced back, or maybe did some other kind of utility effect. Like, heck, I wouldn't even mind if these weren't so powerful, right? I wouldn't mind this being a countercharge, right? So just pick one or the other. Pick the draw or the countercharge. And if you pick the countercharge, make it to where you can only countercharge once that turn, period. Act in the Soul. If you have a grade 3 or greater Vanguard or Coral, you put a normal unit from Hand of the Soul. More ways to build your corals. That's really crazy. And you know what's also crazy about this? This makes your star orders even better, right? Because what that means is that your star orders are going to put them into Soul, and then you'll be able to put them back out to the field by getting these guys, your actual corals, into the Soul from the hand, without having to hope that your corals stay on field and then potentially get retired, right? Because they could be susceptible to field control. This isn't as susceptible to field control. That's wild. Active Pink Lorana is a grade 2 rear. Out on the rear, when this unit attacks, your soul has 2 or more coral cards, which you can get as soon as turn 2, because you'll have your grade 0 and grade 1 on the ride line. This unit gains 5k power to end a turn. You have 4 or more. This unit gets power plus 10k to end a turn. So it's a 15k attacker for a condition you're going to get on turn 3 onwards, like by default. Insane. Act of the Soul. If you have a grade 3 or greater Coral Vanguard, put a normal unit from Hand of the Soul, called again with this effect. So everyone has this effect. Yeah, you're ramping up to a bunch of different corals. As long as you see like you need to only see 1 coral period in the hand or off the top 7 if you see the Lyrica, and then you're fully online. You have your 6 attack turn, and you'll be able to like get this twice. You'll be able to attack for plus 15k, making it 25k, 35 on Persona, and then 40, because there's also this card when it giving it 5k, right? So that'll be 40k on its own with the Persona right turn. That's wild, dude. Even without Persona right, that's still a 30k attacker for a condition that you can get like for almost no effort whatsoever. It actually helps you get to the 4th coral by itself, dude. That's so crazy. Yeah. I think the ramp idea is cool, and I do like your star set order, but these cards are too effective at what they do. I think you need to chill out on the card design and you need to make the players work a little bit harder for these conditions. And also, honestly, you don't have to change what your end goal is, but make the end goal harder to get to if you're going to do that, right? But personally, I'd also say make what you're doing here a little bit more interesting, because it's just a bounce, recall, beat down with a Vanguard restand. Like, it's very basic Bermuda stuff that I think a lot of us might be a little bit sick and tired of here. So I don't know, that's just me though, right? If that's how you like to play it, and you think that's how Coral should play, I'm not particularly offended by that. I just think then that you'd have to balance it to give your opponent a chance to breathe before you go and like beat them down. Like, them being a grade 3 or greater, like, you know, that's the only thing they've got going for them, because otherwise, it's gonna get real, man. Especially if you manage to like get a persona ride going with this. Oh man. So yeah, I don't know. Maybe I'm overreacting with this, but it just feels like it gets too much power multi-attack too easy. Okay. Let's see. Key supermarket. Let's see how much he's got in the folder here to see if we got time for it. Let's see. We're running on 1 hour and 8 minutes, and he's got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. You know what? Honestly, yeah, I could push for this. That's cool. It's just 6 cards. So Key Supermarket 7069. Congratulations. You'll be the final one of the day. All right, so let's get into it. Oh, Celestials, right? Okay, so we've got Ramiel, Zerakiel, looks like cool. So let's just go down from left to right then. We'll start with Ramiel, who, next to Malkuth Malik, is my favorite Angel Feather unit, fun fact. I just like the aesthetic and the way that Ramiel played. Auto on the rear, when this unit attack, if you have card, have same name as VC and damage on this unit. Ooh, so this is going to be one of the not so good grammar cards, unfortunately. I hate to say it that way. It sounds so mean. But like that, like I legitimately need to like decipher what this effect means, which I don't think is a good thing for a card to have, right? Like the real test of skill is your reading skills rather than your playing skills. That's wild. So what it says is when this unit, so let me translate. Auto on the rear guard circle, when it attacks, if you have a card in the damage zone with the same name as the card in the Vanguard circle, it gets plus 10,000 power. Now this is a rear guard only skill, meaning that Ramiel is going to probably be a rear guard unit, right? Let's see, auto on the rear. Yep. Okay, so the second skill is also on the rear. It says at the end of the battle, this unit attacked if your Vanguard clan Angel Feather. So if you have a Vanguard with only Angel Feather for its clan, cost, put this unit into your soul. Choose a card from the damage zone and put it in your hand, then put the top card of your deck into the damage zone. All right, so yeah, this is a very good rear guard skill, and it's actually somewhat reminiscent of how the V series one, right, was, right, where like it had a limit break skill on Banner Reared in order to put a card from damage zone to the hand, and then you put the top card. This card is putting itself in the soul from rear guard circle, just like the V series one did. The only difference is that this is purely on the rear guard circle, whereas the V series one will be on the Vanguard circle, right? But I do like that this is just essentially a 23k attacker, which can break even by putting itself in the soul. In exchange, you just get whatever you want from the damage zone, which adds to the versatility of the damage zone as that toolbox that Angel Feather always touts it to be. So this is a very on flavor effect, and I think it perfectly encompasses what Ramiel does. I'm a little sad that it doesn't have anything to do as a Vanguard, because it was a break right unit, and I think it's a really nice Vanguard in concept. But even though it's just relegated to rear guard, I think as a rear guard, she does what she's supposed to do perfectly if we ignore, you know, all the wording error here. Zerakiel. So this promises to be the actual Vanguard of the deck. Grade 3 Twin Drive Persona Ride, 13k power, all the good stuff. Okay, so it's interesting. There's like some SP, and then this is like regular card text. It's like a half SP. Weird. Auto on the Vanguard circle, when this unit attacks, you counterblast 1 and choose 2 rear guards to put in the damage zone. Choose 2 units, whose 2 units from the damage zone. Call to rear circle. If your opponent in the Vanguard is grade 3 or greater, all of your front units get power plus 10,000. Ooh, okay, so it's like a pseudo. Okay, so wow, that's a really powerful skill. For the price of a counterblast, you can cycle out 2 cards from you. So you cycle out 2 cards. You put 2 cards to the damage zone from the rear into the damage zone, and then 2 from the damage zone into the Vanguard circle. Not the Vanguard circle, the rear guard circle. What's really crazy about this is that you're able to put the same cards to the field that you put into the damage zone. So let's say that you just had like 2 grade 2s, right? You just put them into the damage zone and then recall them back out, and they're perfectly refreshed, right? And then you'll be able to get plus 10k power to those 2 as well as this unit if the opponent's Vanguard is grade 3 or greater, right? Which is a little bit easy to get that 10k power, I will admit, but at the same time, ooh, honestly, I feel like you might, like, I don't mind you being able to get this 10k, but I feel like it might be a little bit too much because it's a self-enabling 5 attack turn. I think I would have preferred if you didn't have the front row power up if you can call to the front row, or alternatively you could do like a column swap, and then you'll be able to get like a power up to the front row, but it's less attack, so you're not dipping into the front row power up as much. Let's read on, though, before I give my final judgment. Continuous on the Vanguard circle. If you have a card with the same name as this unit in the damage zone, all front row units get ++. Like it says, is this unit in a damage zone? So, you know, obviously it's worded wrong, but if we were to take this wording like at face value, then that means in the mirror match, this thing would get enabled, like, just by them having a freaking Zeracular. That's hilarious to me. All of your front row units get +5k. Okay, you see, here's the thing. This skill I actually do like. I think this skill is way better because not only is it based on a condition that your deck is kind of built to do, it also is a condition that's harkening back to what Zeracular originally did. Zeracular actually had effect, particularly in the V series as well, where it could like superior ride and stuff from the damage zone. What's really important is that every version of Zeracular places an importance on having a Zeracular in the damage zone to do something. In this case, it's to give a front row power up of 5k. That's really nice. I think that's perfect, right? So then we go back to this and I say, yeah, don't give the plus 10k power up because you're already giving them a power up as it is, right? Just do the multi attack and leave it at that, honestly. So yeah, just leave this to be your power up because this is way better designed and feels thematically in tune. Auto on the Vanguard circle. At the end of the turn, if the opponent has a grade 3 or greater Vanguard, choose a unit from the drop zone, put in the damage zone, choose a card from damage zone, add it to the hand. I don't mind this effect. I feel like you might, if you're going to do an effect like this, I would ask that you probably Soul Blast. Yeah, you might want to Soul Blast in order to do this because this is a free +1. Just as long as they're a grade 3 or greater, right? Which, considering you're already getting like these other two benefits, it doesn't have to be a free +1. I think you should have something to it. Also, because you're doing any card from the drop and putting it into the damage on the back of the hand, this means you can recycle some very key defensive units like Perfect Guards and the Overtrigger. That's a little bit too easy. I feel like you should probably limit it to normal unit without Sentinel, or if you want to add trigger units, then you would probably put in a condition like choose a card from the damage zone without Sentinel or Overtrigger and add it to your hands, right? Then you're in the clear. I think then it's perfectly fine because otherwise that's a little, because you can just keep recurring a Sentinel for free every single turn. That's kind of wild, bro. I don't like that. I think if you wanted to be able to recur a Sentinel, what you could do to make this a little bit more acceptable is make it a break even, right? And what you do is you do like the one of the basic Angel Feather shenanigans of you take a card from hand, put it into the damage zone, and then you take another card from the damage zone and put it to your hand, right? So that way you'll be able to break even. You can get your Sentinels still, but you have to break even for it, and you're not taking from the drop, which means you can't recur Sentinels. So even though you can get Sentinels from the damage zone, you had to find a way to put them there in the first place, and this doesn't enable to do it from the drop zone. So it's a more finite quantity you'll be able to do it in. That's a way better like way of going about it that isn't busted but still very impactful and gets you to what you want effectively. And it also means that you're most likely not, unless you put it into the damage zone and something like the effect of Romeo over here, you wouldn't be able to get your Overtrigger anyway because if it's drive or damage check, it removes itself. So yeah, that's what I would say about that. So yeah, do that and then you can keep it as a free break even and I wouldn't care about it. But if you're going to do it for the drop and then that, you need to add the Sentinel and Overtrigger restriction and also maybe add Soul Blast to it. So one of those two avenues, whichever one you prefer. Personally, I prefer the break even approach. Okay, so now let's go on to the rear guards. Marking Celestial Arabaki, very classic. Auto and Rotopon by Essence Celestial Becca. Okay, so this is your grade 1 ride line. Choose a card from the damage zone, call it to the rear, or put it to hand, and put the top card of the deck into the damage zone. Very, very, very powerful skill. Being able to choose either or. I mean, heck, would you ever really need to call to the field? You just put whatever you want to the hand regardless. Like a trigger or a Sentinel, you put it in the hand. Any defensive piece, you put it in the hand. If the rear guard worth attacking with... Oh, okay. I guess I could kind of see an argument that if you have a... let's say that the only card, like, because this card is a ride line, right? So you're only going to be able to get like 1 damage by the time that it's time to ride a grade 2 normally, unless your opponent went second early rush to a grade 1s. So let's say the only card you damage checked was something like a Ramiel, which is a rear guard grade 3. In that instance, then what you could do is attack with Ramiel and then move her to the soul and start cycling out your damage some more, right, and get that plus. Or, well, technically it's a break even, but it's a plus to the hands. So yeah, I can see in those niche situations why you would do that, but still, this is very powerful. Like, holy crap, that's an excellent ride line. Auto on the rear once per turn. Cost, put a card from hand into the damage zone. Choose a unit from the damage zone called rear circle. Yep. Perfectly cool effect. I like that. It sets up your damage zone the way you want it very, very easily. Yeah, I have no complaints about this effect. Arabaki, it's just it helps situate what you wanted there. One thing, and I am a little saddened that we don't see a little bit more of this gimmick with this effect in particular. One of the things about Celestials as a deck is it had a sub gimmick to its damage zone, where the stipulation was you needed to have cards of the same name in your damage zone as cards on your fields, right? So you had to play a matching game, which made Celestials a very complex deck to actually run because you needed to micromanage both your fields and your damage zone. And it was hard enough to do it as it is. Imagine if your opponent played like Control or, you know, had you remove certain cards, right? That would just wreak havoc on your entire game plan. So it was pretty hard to pull off Celestials optimally, to be fair, right? But I'm just a little sad that we don't see a little bit more in that, because I think something like Arabaki is actually incentivizing that kind of playstyle, where you'll be able to replace a card from your damage zone to the field with a card in your hand that's of the same name, which I guess isn't that impactful, because if you had a card with the same name as the card you called to the damage zone anyway, you would then just call it. But still, it might be for like future stuff that you'll be able to craft your damage in the way you like it. So it's not that impactful of the benefit, but I think it's just enough that it's like very worthy in the deck. Also, just a very strong ride line, so even if it's just a ride line, you would play that card. Okay, Underlay Celestial Hesedial. Auto on the rear, this is a grade 1 rear. At the end of the battle, this unit boosted if your Vanguard's clan is Angel Feather. Cost Counterblast 1. Put a card from hand or choose a card from drop zone and put it in the damage zone. Choose a card from damage zone, add it to the hand. If you put a card from damage zone, draw a card. Okay. Let me see. Don't put it from the drop. I like the hand though. If you do the hand, then you're doing a hand swap and also a +1. Here's what I would do. 2 things I would do. Probably because it's just like at the end of the boost, right? So the only thing is the Counterblast 1. Counterblast 1. Put a card from hand into the damage zone. Choose a face up card from the damage zone, add it to your hand, and if you put a card from hand into the you only draw if you didn't put it from the well, even then, ooh, yeah, okay. Putting for the drop zone means that this is a really strong, like, because now I don't know if I want to let this be able to do drop zone, because if it does drop zone, then you'll be able to do the thing I was talking about before with Arabaki, right? Well, not Arabaki, with Zerakiel, where now with this plus Zerakiel, Hesedial will just put a PG from the drop into the damage zone, and then from the damage zone to the hand with Zerakiel. Oh, okay. I feel like you probably shouldn't be able to choose from the drop zone again. But what I will say is, what you can do is Counterblast 1, and then put the top card of your deck into the damage zone, and then choose a face up card from your damage zone and add it to your hand. So in a way, it's sort of like a draw if you only have the newly put card as your damage, or it could be a just like another card from the damage zone to the hand of your choice, but you're not taking it for the drop zone, which is very important in this format because PGs are what we're really relying on. I know that kind of neuters some of the versatility of Angel Feather, but at the same time, I just really wanted to put a point in that it's very easy to have this deck be really like super hard to kill, especially because now you have multiple ways between Zeracule and also Romuel to craft your hand to be a bunch of PGs. So I think it's perfectly fine to make this a +1. So yeah, just either put it from like, so yeah, I guess you could put it like from hand or top of the deck into the damage zone, and then put a face-up card from damage zone to the hand. If you place from hand, you draw a card. That way, it's a +1 either way. Yeah, that's probably the perfect way to do it. So yeah, take out the drop stuff and also specify face-up so that the counterblast actually means something. Because if there's one thing that's annoying about Angel Feather card design, it's when counterblasts actually don't stick around. Continuous on the rear circle, back row. If you have a card with the same name on the Vanguard circle in your dancer. Okay, so this is really weird, but I guess what it means is you need to have like a copy of Zeracule on your Vanguard circle, because it's going to be your Zeracule that's your Vanguard most of the time. This unit gets power plus 5k, a shield plus 5k, and gains intercept. So it'll be a 10k intercept from the back row as well as the 13k booster. That's a perfectly fine effect. I think the only thing I would change about this is instead of matching a Zeracule, you should match a Hesedial. That way it gives you incentive to start matching your rear guards as well and get more into the Celestial playstyle. Aside from that, pretty interesting card. The first effect, just do the changes I said, and I think it'd be a pretty perfect effect. Essence Celestial Becca. So this is the grade 2 of the ride line. Whoops. These are kind of out of order, so I didn't get to the full through the ride line immediately. So auto win Rotopon by Zeracule. Choose a card from the damage zone, call it, put it in the hand, and choose a card from the drop and put it in the damage zone. Yeah, okay. So same thing here. Don't choose a card from the drop, just choose it from the top of the deck. Otherwise, just calling or adding to the hand is a very, very, very strong effect as it is. So just leave it at that and you're good to go. Continues in the damage zone. This card can be the same name as the Vanguard circle. I don't like that effect. I feel like this effect just flies in the face of the matching game you're trying to do with Zeracule anyway. So I'd rather it be something else, like maybe it's an effect to power up Becca on the rear guard if you have it on the Vanguard circle. I'm not on the Vanguard circle. Like maybe this should be continuous to the rear guard circle. If you have a copy of Essence Celestial Becca in your damage zone, this unit gets plus 10k power, right? So that it would be like a really good beater, and then what you can do is that you can sort of like swap Becca's with Zeracule's skill, and then you can feel real clever about it. That's how I would go about this effect, but this right here just, it kind of dumbs down the matching game, and you really don't need it at the end of the day. Even though I guess you might want Zeracules to go to your hand instead of the damage zone because you want to keep Persona riding, but by that point, I don't know. I feel like you would have to just like take and pick, right? Ooh, yeah, okay. Finally, we've got Ragwell, right? Another classic. There's another grade 2 rare. Auto on, well, okay, I say another, but this is the first purely grade 2 rare. Auto on the rear. At the end of the battle, this unit attacked if your Vanguard is Angel Feather. You Soul Blast 1, put a card from hand or drop zone into the damage zone. Again, with that, just please choose hand. Choose a card from the damage zone, put it into hand. If you put a card from hand to the damage zone, you draw a card. Okay, so this is a Soul Blast for a hand swap into +1. Considering the other one was a counter blast, I don't like that. Here's what I will say though. This would be kind of interesting. This kind of gets more to your point, because you want it to be a +1, right? And you want it to use a soul. So what I would say is, at the end of battle, this unit attacked. If your Vanguard is only Angel Feather, choose a card from your soul, or choose a card from your rear circle or soul. Place it, mostly the soul. Place it from the soul into the damage zone, and then choose a card. Choose up to one card from the damage zone. No, okay. Let me clear my mind. Choose a card from the soul, place it into the damage zone face up, and then choose a card from the damage zone and add it to your hands, right? I think that is probably the most prudent way of doing it. It's a +1 and it uses your soul. Now, what I will say is you can do this multiple times with Ragwell. Now, you're killing your soul to do it, but it's a lot of plussing to the hand, which I don't particularly appreciate. So what you would probably then do is you, okay. So, right, okay. Choose a card from the soul, put it into the damage zone, choose a card from the damage zone, put it into the hand. Oh, you know what? This would be kind of clever. If Ragwell actually like removed itself, right? So if Ragwell moved itself from the soul and then chose a card from the soul, put it into the damage zone, and then choose a card from the damage zone and heal it, right? So you've effectively, but that's a -1 to do that, which isn't, yeah, okay. It's more simple than I'm making it out to be. Put a card from the soul into the damage zone and then heal a card from the damage zone. This isn't plussing you, and it also isn't hand building. What it is doing is it's damage zone building. And damage zone building is important because that means that when you Persona ride Zerakiel, this is what I'm getting to. When you Persona ride Zerakiel, you'll be able to take that copy of Zerakiel that you Persona rode over and put it into the damage zone so that you'll be able to maintain Zerakiels in the damage zone, meaning that you're now free to add one from the damage zone back to the hand with another skill. Not every Angel Feather card has to be change a card from hand and damage zone and do that swap, or even add from damage zone to hand. You can do other forms of swapping, and this one is a soul swapping, which I like because you're taking a card from the soul into the damage zone, thus getting back a card that is going to be stuck in the soul while also using the soul as a cost without actually needing it to technically be a soul blast. It's a very clever way of doing it if I have to toot my own horn, right? Continues on the rear circle. If you have a card with the same name as Vanguard, the damage zone, this unit gets plus 5k. Again, I feel like this should be, if you have another copy of Rackroll in the damage zone, then it'll get plus 5k. Get more in tune with that, because then as long as you have one Zerakiel, everyone gets their effects ever, and that's a really, really boring way to play it, right? We want to make Angel Feathers, particularly Celestial, very interesting, right? Real knowledge base. You want to feel like you're a 5-head playing this deck in order to get the full satisfaction. At least that's the way I interpret it. So overall, I say this was a pretty good attempt, and there's some stuff here that I do like. I think the damage zone sweeping for multi-attack is kind of neat. I do really like this continuous skill. Ramiel is almost perfectly designed, in my opinion. As for your rear guards, I think anything that involves putting drop in a damage zone should be changed to like swapping hand, and Ragwell should be taking from the soul into the damage zone instead so that you can recycle your Zerakiels. That would be my final notes to you. All right. And I guess as far as rating go, I'd probably get these about like a 7.5 out of 10. I think they're like a decent reinterpretation. There's a fair bit of stuff I like, but I think they're just like held back by poor wording, ease of damage zone manipulation, particularly from the drop zone, and also it's too simplistic by reducing the entire gimmick down to requiring only one copy of one name in your entire damage zone. So I think if you solve those issues, then you would have a very, very strong ride line here. That's going to be it for the day, though. I really like these cards. I know that like stuff like the Celestials and the Corals and stuff could definitely use some improvement. These could also use a little bit of an improvement. These actually I think are like almost perfect except for the continuous skill. So I would say in terms of overall quality, like these are really interesting ideas, but in one way or another, mostly in terms of theme, more so theme than even like the strict card balance of it feels like, right? But a combination of theme and card balance are kind of going awry here, and I think that would be like my message, right? The sort of theme of today's episode, see what I did there, is consider the fun and also the reason for playing a deck. Why would I want to play this deck? And that's why I think decks with interesting gimmicks or deliver on a playstyle that has been explored with other decks but also does it in a very fun and fulfilling way is perfectly fine. Like if you want to do a Vanguard beatdown deck, you can definitely do a Vanguard beatdown deck. Just make the ebb and flow of it feel fulfilling and you're good to go. It's just that sometimes these things are too easy, which means they're too boring, or they hit too hard, which means they fly in the face of any versatility or toolboxing when your objectively best option is just beating your opponent in the face, right? And we don't like that in Vanguard. So that is what I would say here. But still, overall, some pretty good scores all around, and I like what's going on here. Definitely going to be thumbnailing the D-Robos. That's for frickin' sure. Might also try to make that like Orifist here for good old Hunter there. I think Cardfight Hunter probably deserved it at this point, because I think I actually do. That Orifist card might be my favorite card of these. Well, the Orifist card and also the Seabound Fated Clash. I think these are like probably the highlights, which, you know, go figure, we started with it. So it really got us off to the races there, if you will. Anyway, that's going to do it for this episode, like I said before. So if you like this episode, then go ahead and check out the others in the Cardfight season. As I said, this is number 11, so you've got a lot to catch up on if you've already just skipped all the way here and not looked at the others. But if you don't feel like catching up on it, or you already have, then go ahead and check out my other Vanguard content. We've got tier lists, fight nights, anime reactions, discussions, the whole shebang. So check those out. And if you like what you see, consider leaving me a subscribe and turn on notification bell for next time I upload a video. And with that said, take care. God bless.